Air compressor time! Welcome back, Fuzzbuds. Today we're going to be taking apart a sewing machine, fixing it up, giving it a bit of an oil, and cleaning out any of the fur that is caught inside. So what you're probably going to need is screwdrivers, you'll need a flathead and a Phillips head. You'll need an air compressor, or you can get one of those compressed air cans. Those work as well. Just hardware store, compressed air in a can. It's super simple, easy, if you don't want to spend heaps of money on an air compressor. You'll also need a bit of oil, and that's pretty much it. Take out your thread, like so. Then we want to take off this part here. That might need a bit of a clean. It's actually quite dusty inside there. Yeah, that's a bit dusty, isn't it? So what we're going to do is basically take off this section here, this panel. We're going to take off the bottom panel under here, take off this top panel here, and there's a panel up the top, on the top, that we're going to take off. So I like these little iFixit kits. They're computer fixing kits, phone fixing kits, basically for small hardware. I just like it because it's got lots of little tools in it, things that can come in handy for different situations. And a little screwdriver with a million different interchangeable heads. So I'm probably going to need this big one to start out for taking off this panel here. This will be the easiest panel and probably the most common panel that you would take off. This is to clean out underneath the bobbin. Probably do this like once every few weeks, maybe every few days, depending how much you sew. This little spot here, it just can sometimes fill up with thread or fur or material, whatever. So you need to loosen up these little screws under here. And this screwdriver is a little bit big to get into this spot, but I'll get it undone. Once you get them undone, you can sort of hand screw them off. They're pretty easy. Okay, so now that we've got that done, we can take this panel off. There we go. What you can also do to give yourself some more room is there's a little spring loader here at the back. You can push that to take the foot off. Now you can see how damn dirty it is in there. Oof. Yeah. So that's going to need probably an air compress out. You can also take this piece out, see if there's anything under there. And there is a lot of dirt in there. Alright, so let me get this air compressor set up and we can then blow that area out. So my air compressor is quite loud, so please ignore. Air compressor time! So this part that's been pushed out by my air compressor, that's actually a wicking solution for the internal motor. So I'll push him back in and I'll wick him later. Okay, and now this area is clean. What we want to do now is get our oil. I'm using a clipper oil. So what we need to do now is wick this tiny little bit down in the center here. Just 1 or 2 drops of oil is fine. Let the air escape, and 2 drops of oil. So that little wick in the center is what pretty much gives the gears down the bottom that cause this rotation. It just gives them constant oil. Now what we need to do is move on to the panel underneath. So if you can see that, there are 2 screws under here. This panel under here just slides off like that. And then you slide it out. So because I cleaned the area above, this is not, it's not as dirty. I mean, it still is a bit, but yeah, not as dirty. We'll give that a clean, but we will also give that area a clean. That is very dirty under there. I'm not sure if you can see that, but that is very dirty under there. Oof. So we'll give this area under here a bit of a go. Now that area is clean as. So now that is nice and clean. What we want to do now is grab the oil, grab that little bit of oil, and we want to oil up any sections that are metal touching metal. So you want to oil this just there. When you move it around like so, it will oil itself up. Now there are a bit of dust bunnies in there, so I might have to actually give it another air compress. This little washer of fabric, that's also another point where you put oil in. That is a wicking piece of fabric. It will give the rest of that shaft some oil throughout its life. Just a little dab here and along here, and you'll be alright. I'm going to pop this panel back on. Here we go. Back on. And then we want to screw it back in. So, you may be thinking all of that dust in there was quite a lot. And yes, that's about 4 months of fursuit making, so probably about 7 or 8 suits has gone through this machine so far. That's just fur fibers. This is something that other sewing people probably wouldn't have to do so much, but as a fursuit maker, you're gonna have to do this. Otherwise, all your gears are gonna clog up with gunk after a while. For this part, you need to put this boy back in like so. Pop this panel back in like so. Screw it in. Pop that boy back on. Screw those in. Now I can just hand tighten these most of the way and then get a screwdriver in at the last minute to tighten them up. Yep. And tighten that one up as well. So that's the bottom section of your sewing machine done. What you want to move on to now is these top sections. So the first one is this panel here. To get that undone, you need a Phillips head, unscrew this, use a tight one, there we go. So we unscrew that. Now this is not as dirty as that bottom section, but I will give it a little clean. So for this final part, you access the screws in through here at the top. You want to undo those. I have struggled enough. This is where tools come in. There we go. And then the other one is there. Oh, don't go back in. I'll have to do that. Got another one up in here. There we go. And it's off. That one was a little bit more difficult, so there's little clips down in here, and up here, and here. And here you can see all of the inner workings. Very nice, right? Check that out. Ooh, fancy. You can see how all the tensioning works. Needle position. Tensional. Makes a little boy in here move. That's very cool. That one makes your width. Very cool. Alright. So, in here, what you've got is a few belts. If you're ever having a problem and your sewing machine is not working anymore, check to see if your belts are working, or check to see if they're in the right positions. Make sure it's not slipped off of the gear. Same thing with this one here. That is another belt. They can sometimes slip off that way. Make sure that your belt is actually on. That can be one common problem as to why your sewing machine has stopped working. Easy fix. You just lift the belt back up and put it back on the gear, and then it'll work again. So this area is not actually too dusty, so I don't need to touch it at all. I don't need to air compress this area at all. So basically anywhere where metal touches metal is where you need to oil up. So just a drop down in there. There are a few spots in here that you want to oil up. Mostly this drive shaft right here. So Give that a touch of oil. And as you move it, it will oil itself up. It'll lube itself up. And so there's another spot down in here that you want to oil up. So at the bottom of that drive shaft, you also want to give that a little bit of lube. So this little arm here connects in the back to, I'll bring you back up, this little arm here connects in the back to another gear. You want to oil that little gear up, just one drop will do. Give him a little movement. And you're done oiling. You're all good. Now we just need to put the whole thing back together again. So you want to make sure that you go over the top of that and then push it in. Screw that bad boy back in. And she's clean. Thanks for watching, guys. That is a tutorial. I now have to clean my desk because it's absolutely covered in dust that came out of this bad boy. Alright, later. Thanks for watching, Fuzzbutts. I plan to upload new content every fortnight, so please subscribe and ring that bell. And don't forget to absolutely obliterate that like button. Check out my website and Twitter in the description for all of my latest fursuit projects.